What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Project Potter. Welcome back to Gotta Get Back, episode 30. And boy, is it a good one. So here we go, guys. If you haven't seen the channel before or the show before, this is a Samurai Jack review show. We're doing a recap. We're doing a favorite character, a favorite scene, a score out of 10, and maybe some trivia at the end. That kind of rhymes. I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, here we go, guys. So episode 30 kicks off with this like crow type thing, and lets out just like a hellish screech, and it's just creepy. This whole episode is creepy, really. It's really nice. I like the style of it. But Jack is walking along this path, and we kind of zoom out from Jack into Aku's face, and it's nice because we haven't seen Aku in a few episodes, and we don't see Aku that much, but he's like sulking in his chair. I love the different animations for Aku here. He's watching Jack, and he's like sitting like this, and he's like, and there's like a long shot where he's just like moping, and he's moody, and you can tell he's just like really annoyed with the fact that Jack is like thwarting every plan that he gets, and the one thorn in his side, he rules over everything else, and the one thorn in his side is Samurai Jack, and Jack just marches on to try and defeat him, and yet no matter what he comes up with, he can't defeat him. And he's like, oh, samurai. Aku is like, oh. And Jack actually gets to a crossroads, and he looks left, and he looks right, and both paths actually look the same. So he takes a stick, and he just throws the stick up, and it actually points one way, but then Aku uses like his magic to change the stick to go the other way. And he's like, but then he just goes that way. So he probably knows something is up, but he goes on the left, and Aku is like, foolish samurai. He's like, little do you know you chose the path to your doom. And he's watching, and Aku thinks he's got it beat, and he's celebrating. So Jack goes towards like this foggy trail. It's really, really cool artistically. So there's like dead trees all around, and he sees like a figure in the distance, and he hears voices, and he thinks there's like a girl in trouble or something. He gets up there, and it's just like an old stone, looks like almost like an old woman's face, but it's like a mask, and it's almost like those masks that you see in like plays and stuff. I don't know what it's called, but it's really, really cool. And then Jack, then he gets serious, and we get the famous half shot of his eyes like getting serious, and it's really, really foggy. And Jack sees someone like running in the distance, so he follows. As he leaves, like we see that shot again of the face, so you know something is up, obviously, even without Aku telling us that this was his path of doom. So he goes to like an old graveyard, basically, and the fog starts to clear, but the moon is out, and everything looks really creepy. And I love the shading because Jack is drawn in like a dark gray instead of like his normal white, and so you can tell it's dark, and he doesn't trust anything. He knows something's about to go down. Aku uses his eyes again, and now he raises the dead. And these guys, look, I got some behind me here. There was one other shot I wanted to get, but I couldn't find a good enough picture of it. But oh man, these guys look cool. So there's a bunch of like dead warriors. They have swords and shields and rotting teeth, and there's one that like growls at him, and there's a close-up shot, and it's like, and it's really cool because it's like all gross spit and decay and stuff is like slowly like forming off the teeth. And they all have like these weird like screeches at him, and which makes it way creepier. But they're like getting out of coffins, and they're slowly like irking towards him. There's like a great shot where it's like the background, and they're all just like giving the blue eyes. Remind me of like the White Walkers from Game of Thrones, honestly, a little bit. And it just lets out a screech, and there's spit flying everywhere, and there's like one with a huge tongue and stuff, and they throw a knife, and Jack avoids that, and then it's just the battle is on. So it like kind of focuses up on him, and Jack, it's only one swipe, and they're like poofing into dust, but it's like this black dust, and it's really cool. Just like pure evil spirit, and there's a lot of them coming at him, so Jack is like constantly like swinging left and right, and some of them, they're like getting like 2 or 3 on him, and he's got to like make a quick move to take him out. So Jack takes out a whole bunch of them. There's like a whole scene where he's like stabbing them through the head and going around and running around corners and stuff. And just when you think, part of his shirt gets ripped, and then Jack just actually rips the rest of it off himself. I didn't realize how many episodes of Samurai Jack he either takes his shirt off or his shirt is ripped. And he always looks so cool with it, but I'm like, bro, half the time, first of all, we need to figure out how he's getting his gi repaired, because that's never been explained. But like half the time, he's just like ripping that shit off because he's like, yo, I'm going to look dope right now. So he takes out like basically the whole army, and he's just exhausted. He's huffing and puffing. And what does Aku do? He does his eyes again, dude. And then there's a whole new, like, bigger, stronger army that comes up. And Jack is like, his hair is all messy, and he's like, oh no, dude, because he's just wiped out. There's way more of them now, so they're all surrounding him. Jack looks a little worried, and he looks a little weary. So we're not really sure how he's going to get out of this one, because there's a lot more guys, and they have him surrounded this time, so he's got nowhere to run. There's one really creepy one that has like a high-pitched, like, woman's voice, and it's got really long arms, and it goes at him, and he misses it, and then he cuts it, but they're like kind of laughing or smiling at him while they're doing it, which always makes it way creepier. It's like when kids are in horror movies and stuff, it's like, yeah, I don't like any of that. I mean, I love it, but like the effect is cool. There's like one like ape guy that comes, he's like running over like Donkey Kong over there, and Jack kind of jumps out of the way and falls into like an old church, and then all the blue eyes show up behind him, and then they're like reaching out at him. So he like escapes at the last second. He jumps out of there. Good thing he knows how to jump good. And then there's like a witch that comes out and a blue flame, and she says, "I'm going to eat your soul." And then she like throws this blue beam at him, and he puts the sword up to defend himself. But that's actually exactly what she wanted, because she like possesses his sword. And then this is crazy because it actually turns the sword. It looks really cool because the sword is like got a blue handle, and it's like shining bright white. It almost looks like supercharged it. But she took control of the sword, and it flies out of Jack's hand. There's an awesome shot where it goes up to the moon. It looks so cool. And then the sword starts going away. So Jack has to chase the sword, but the warriors are still coming at him. So he punches a couple of them, but then he has to like mostly jump out of the way. He's going around corners. The sword is like flying super fast, so he's got to sprint over there, try and get his sword back. It's really, really cool. And then right when he's about to get it, who shows up? And other than Aku, and Aku grabs the sword out of there, and Jack is like terrified. And I was like, oh no, dude. I don't know what's gonna happen here. And obviously, like, I knew Jack wasn't gonna die or anything, but I was like, oh, this is a tough spot. And so it's really good because Jack's face is like, he's terrified, and he's like, oh my God, how did this happen? And Aku is like, oh, samurai warrior, finally I've bested you. And he's like, I finally got this magic sword that's caused me so much trouble. And he's like, and guess what? He's like, now you're going to die from it. And he's like, I'm going to kill you with your own sword. And so he gets a little cocky, and he transforms down into like a weird looking, like, tallish warrior. But Aku's got the sword, and he's swiping at Jack, and he's missing, but he's like destroying all these structures and stuff. And now Jack is on the run against Aku, and the Jack and Aku fights are always good with his sword. And so he, like, the thing he has trusted so much, and he's taken on so many journeys and vanquished so many enemies, including the one he needs to take down, Aku. He's now going against that. And so Aku is chasing him down with his own sword. And I'm like, oh, this is sick, dude. Like, what a great idea. And Jack is now like afraid of like the thing that he's trusted most, like I said. And so he actually ends up getting like an old sword from one of the dead warriors. I didn't love this because I was like, I don't think that Jack should be able to wield those weapons because they're not real weapons. They're just like dust or evil weapons there. But he gets a shield and a sword from that. And so he uses that for a little bit, and they have like a quick sword fight. But Aku turns into like, he shapeshifts a bunch, but he turns into like a scorpion first and uses the Jack sword as the pincher on the tail. And there's a great shot of like Jack running, and the sword is like going at him, but he's using the shield to block it. And then Aku shapeshifts into like a huge like dragon, and he starts firing lasers from his eyes mixed with like fire, and that's going after Jack, and he's running around, and there's a trail of destruction like behind him, and he's running, and Aku like takes a shot at him, and he misses, but then he turns into like a big praying mantis, basically, tries to get Jack, and he runs by that, and then he transforms again into like just a big version of Aku, who just spits like this crazy amount of fire. There's an awesome scene where Jack's got the shield up. It goes half screen, or that horizontal shot, and it's really, really cool. There's so much fire. So it's like Jack behind the shield, all the fire's going around him and then past him. And then Aku eventually stops, but the shield disintegrates, so Jack has to keep running. And then that's when Aku chases him, and he like goes into this like big tentacle form. And there's awesome shot where it's like panning, and Jack is scared, and he's running for his life. And Aku's just right on his tail, and they're like, these pincers are going at him. One actually knocks him down on the ground, so Jack has to keep running. through the graveyard, and Aku is just like oozing, looks like a flood. He's like oozing darkness throughout the whole graveyard. It looks really, really, really cool. And so Jack is sweating, he's nervous, and he like hides behind a pillar for now. But of course, Aku eventually finds him there, and he has to keep running. And there's another side shot where Jack is running, and then like the end of the tentacles like start fighting, so he has to like fight that off as he's going. There's only so many places Jack can go, basically, and Aku is just on his tail like over and over and over. And so Jack like jumps off on like a tombstone, and Aku shoots that down, and Jack like falls to the ground. And we don't know what's going on with Jack, but he's hiding once again. Aku goes underneath the ground now, and then he goes like up, and he has these tentacles, and it shoots Jack up in the air, and there's like a great slow-mo shot of like red. There's like red in the background, and I was like, oh wow, this is cool. We've never seen this. And he actually does get Jack on the ground, so he pins him down, and then he like opens up he like retracts the darkness so that it shows like Jack's chest, and he's like, this is it, samurai. And Aku is like mad with power, and he pulls the weapon back, and Jack knows like he's stuck and he can't do anything, and he just takes a moment and he says, I'm sorry, father, I failed you. And then Aku goes down full force with the sword, and it just like bounces off Jack. And he's like, and even Jack is surprised. And then Aku does it a few more times, and still nothing. He can't break through. And so Aku like retracts his powers or whatever, and then Jack like rolls out of it, and then he picks up the sword, and he's like, oh, Aku, I forgot. He's like, even I forgot. The sword is made pure, so it can only be used for good. He's like, even he's like, the most evil cannot do anything with it. So he's like, the sword has no power with you, and so it cannot be used to harm the innocent. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, dude. But he's like, it can be used to harm you. And then Jack like starts screaming and running at Aku, dude, and he's literally like chopping up his tail. And like as he's going, he's just like, Aku is sinking, because he's just literally cutting through Aku, and it's like that sword sound every time. It's really, really satisfying. Then he takes a huge cut. He jumps and takes a huge cut right down the center of Aku. It makes like this huge red like burn mark, basically. And Aku has like a little bit of energy left, and he transforms into like Little Mouse. And there's a funny scene because he's like, I will get you, samurai. And then he like scurries away. Why Jack doesn't try and chase after him and end him there, I'm not really sure, but he still has to go back to the past. So maybe he doesn't want to kill Aku there, but yeah, he has Aku absolutely on the run, and he got rid of a lot of his power, basically. And as soon as Aku leaves, it's like a dark and stormy night. And of course, the sun comes out, and Jack just sheathes his sword, and he starts walking away. And that is how the episode ends. Okay, guys, for the magic sword, for this one, believe it or not, I'm actually going to give it to Aku. Because I really enjoyed his character in this one. I love the beginning where he's like moping. I love how he's like a teenager sometimes, where he's like, samurai, like he gets impatient. Probably because I get the same way. And like the different shots where he's just like, he's sitting, he's like slumping in his chair, and then like I just love how bothered he gets by Samurai Jack, and how he's trying to lead him down the path, and he always thinks he's got him. But I also think he just came prepared with a really good plan. I mean, he didn't think of the fact that he couldn't use the sword against Jack, so he probably should have just destroyed him with like his laser eyes. But it's cool because he set up the trap. He got them to possess the sword, so it would bring it to him. So he took away Jack's weapon, caught him totally off guard, and then he had him on the ropes the whole time, and like he really like injured Jack, and he should have probably tried to like throw fire at him or something, but he had already thrown so many things at Jack, so maybe he was out of energy or something. I don't know, but yeah, I really just love Aku's game plan here. And yeah, there was an oversight. He didn't realize that he couldn't use his sword, but he probably doesn't know anything about the magic sword anyway, so it's good on him for trying. But yeah, he's gonna go back to the drawing board, and I liked his energy in this. I loved his character. Aku is always great and entertaining, and so evil, but so like weirdly charming in a way. So yeah, Aku's gonna get my magic sword for this one. So for A Portal in Time, it's really hard to choose one in this episode. Honestly, there were so many gorgeous shots. Like I love Jack at the end when he's cutting through Aku's tail. That was really cool. But all of the scenes where Jack is fighting any of the zombies was really awesome too. And I think though, for this one, if I had to pick one scene for A Portal in Time, I have to choose the scene where Aku is spitting the fire at him, and he's got the shield, and it cuts to that shot. And this was like half of a horizontal shot, so it was almost like a special. And it's Jack behind the shield, and the fire's going literally all around him. It's super, super cool. That was the one scene where I was like, wow, this is really awesome. So yeah, that is my Portal in Time in an episode that was just full of awesome moments. So for a score for this one, guys, this is a very, very, very good episode. I played around with the score in my head after watching this for a few minutes, and I was like, do I go here? Do I go here? But I thought about all the elements of it and just the way it looked and the animation and what it meant to the story and the characters that were involved. And I was like, wow, this is a really good one. It's so good that I'm going to give it a 9.8 because it is just, I think it's one of the best ones of the series. Not only because we get a Jack versus Aku fight, but in the past, the Jack versus Aku fights have been like, oh, Jack gets there at the last minute, he swipes at Aku, he shapeshifts a couple times, and then he's thwarted. Now, this is a larger scale of that, but this was the first like full-on Aku versus Jack fight, and this is the first time that we saw Jack without his sword, but he still made good work of like getting the shield, getting the sword, like the extra things there, moving around Aku. He did get captured in the end, but and he did forget that the sword can't hurt him. So I guess like every time Aku's swiping at him, that was kind of like takes away the danger a little bit. But I mean, Jack didn't know that in the stakes felt real. But yeah, I mean, just all the undead army looked amazing. It was really like genuinely scary. Like not even just like, oh, this is like a creepy design. It's like, no, this was like nightmare fuel. The witch that came in and possessed the sword, that was super cool. That looked awesome. Just like the moonlight, the way the sword goes up in front of the moon was super cool when it got possessed. There's just so many shots here that like the Jack goes around and like, I don't know, it's just a phenomenal episode from start to finish, and I really had a great time watching it. And I was thinking about the other great episodes of the series, and I was like, yeah, but this had real stakes. I mean, we really thought that Jack might die in this moment, or we were waiting for something to happen where he was going to be saved. And now we find out another huge thing about the sword is that Aku cannot use the sword, and it can't be used to harm the innocent. So he can't even take the sword and give it to like one of his minions. It's like it's useless to him, and it's the most powerful thing against him. So, and the only thing that can harm him. So, yeah, it's like a double win for Jack there. So it's super cool the way he turns it on him at the end and like nearly vanquishes him. It's always good. You think, Aku has like this ever expanding power, but you think when Jack gets in a good fight like that, like it weakens him for a while. And so he can't just go back and come out after Jack the next day. He's got to rethink his plan there. So really, really excellent all around cinematography, the score, the action, just everything was wonderful. And that's why I'm going to give it one of the highest scores that I've given for this series. Okay, guys, for Jack facts for this week, there is just one Jack fact, which is kind of surprising for an episode of this caliber. But the only Jack fact we have this week is that the witch hag that states to Jack the eating of his soul is a nod to the Evil Dead series of films. And so I do not know those films, but I do know there's a big following for that. I worked at a movie theater, and those were here, and we saw a lot of interesting people come into those films, so to say the least. So yeah, it's a cool nod to that. It's just a cool line when you say you're going to eat their soul. So I thought that was really cool anyways, but that is our one and only Jack fact for episode 30. All right, guys, well, that's another episode in the books, a very, very good one. So it's 30 episodes in, that may be their best one. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, really impressed with this episode, guys. It's good to kind of get one of these every now and then to just reinvigorate and be like, all right, let's turn on the next one. Like, let's go. Let's get the next one going in there. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope I made it somewhat fun and entertaining for you guys. Thanks for checking out Project Potter. Go check out the other content. Thanks for checking out this episode of Gotta Get Back. We're making our way. We're almost halfway through season 3. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, guys. Ring that bell notification. And until next time, guys, gotta get back.